Hello everyone and welcome to Voice Global. I'm delighted to be here. I would have loved to have been in person. I think we all would have loved that, but it's just, a fact of where we are currently, and I know we'll all be together again. If this is the first time you have heard me speak, it does not have to be the last. Please do reach out. I'm on Twitter at @thedavedev. Or you can hit my URL, thedavedev.com, or just shoot me an email. For those of you who have heard me speak for a while, I know we have a mixed audience here, and so what I thought would be really good is kind of to address the situation we're all in the pandemic, what I've been seeing, hopefully give you some tips for, common questions I get all the time, which would be, monetization, engagement, what's working, what are some tips for success, and share a little bit about some of the new features that we've been releasing for Alexa, as well as, where this is all headed. And so in the short amount of time we have, let's get started. So if you haven't, to kick things off, if this is the very first time you're seeing anything related with Alexa and you do have a device, when you're asking for things like music and smart home, or if you've ever asked Alexa, can I play a game, or are there any games to play? Those specific conversations we call skills, and anyone can create these specific conversations. And so it could be different brands. It could, like you could see there, NBA. It could be games, like Song Quiz. It could be ordering pizza, like Domino's. And I remember a time when I could count those skills on my hand. And now, thank you to all of you. There are over 100,000 of these skills, with over 500,000 developers building. And so one of the first things I recommend as you're starting to build skills, I just got a question this week of, what should I focus on? Go to Amazon.com/skills, click on 4 stars and above, and look for ones that have tens of thousands of reviews. A lot of the games will have that, and you'll see people leaving suggestions. In fact, there are brands right now that are looking at Amazon customer feedback for their skill as part of their usability process. So wealth of information there. Another thing that we do at Amazon is we have hardware that we create called Echo or Echo Frames. You can see there, Echo Buds, and we put Alexa into those things. So you can see a Dot. That happens to be a Studio Max up there, the big one that'll play 3D sound, the Fire TV Cube, and it's across different things. So you could see here, this is actually Echo Frames. So there's a little speaker that only I hear. The sound goes down, and it can have prescription lenses in here, so you can see this happening. It could be anywhere in the medical field. It could be for being able to do a museum. I used to work in a large pharmaceutical company. We did a lot of stuff with our warehouses, so the ability to walk around a warehouse and check inventory, things like that, as well as Echo Buds. So these are my little Echo Buds. So this gives you Alexa on the fly. Comes a little charging case, and I know those of you who do a lot of calls with me, this is actually what I use along with my studio mic. And with these, I'm in Pennsylvania, so our stay-at-home orders came in pretty early. With these, with everything that we're going through, right? The first thing that came into my mind is, what can I do to help? Is there anything I can do to help? And where can we get information? And so the first link I wanted to share is if you go to bit.ly COVID Amazon, this is updated daily. So it'll give you the ability to see what's going on all across the company. I find it super interesting. I do check that out, and I wanted to share it. If you want to see what we're doing just with devices, if you go to bit.ly COVID Voice, there is a lot going on. We've been donating devices to hospitals. So you'll see here's a picture of an Echo Show. And I got the chance to talk with a lot of medical professionals recently. I talked with doctors at Johns Hopkins. And, the ability to drop into patient rooms hands-free, especially if you're worried that, of anything being contagious. It's hands-free. It's just, drop in, as well as patients being able to do the reverse, being able to say, drop in on nurse, things like that, as well as get information. And so, in this environment, we actually had a family member that was showing some symptoms, and it was like, well, where do we find out what the actual symptoms are? And, how do I take care of things? And how do I get my kids to wash their hands, right? And so Alexa can help with that. You can actually say, Alexa, wash your hands, and she'll do, it's like 20, 30 seconds, little song. I've heard from parents that make that a fun time with their kids. And, it gets into the habit of really, really scrubbing your hands. But then we've partnered with the CDC. So getting information like, Alexa, how do I make a face mask? What do I do if I think I have the coronavirus? And, with the theme of voice, which is always inclusive and can be spontaneous and very natural, how do I make that available to people speaking different languages? And so you can ask for all of this in Spanish. Give me tips for cleaning. Like, do we clean packages? Is that a thing? How long does it stay on countertops? Right? This is all areas that voice can really help in this. Even calling, getting access to local resources. So if I think I do have it and I say call the coronavirus helpline, it'll go ahead and connect me. But changing mood too. This is something that's existed even before this that I've used is we curate news. So if you said, Alexa, just give me some good news, you can do this daily and you'll get a little bit of good news. I'm a fan of John Krasinski's Some Good News SGN show. I don't know if you've seen that. That is available on Alexa now. So if you say, Alexa, open Some Good News, you will actually see it, and it'll play the video too. So just ways to keep all of our spirits up during this. And I've been so thankful and impressed by the Voice First community through all this. If you're not part of this community or you haven't seen it, just go on to Twitter and look for this hashtag. You can also find this hashtag on LinkedIn and Instagram, but a lot of us are on Twitter. And, just coming together, even in the early weeks of the stay-at-home orders, just seeing, people getting together. This is Women in Voice, I saw online, and the voice lunches that are going on. Other events, Dr. Terry Fisher put together this event called The Voice Den, where we all got to kind of hang out and kind of like Shark Tank and ask questions. Just everybody in this community has been trying to figure out how voice can help in this time, and it's just been incredible to see. And you've all kept me sane because I can't travel. So outside of my family, being able to engage with all of you has been just an incredible blessing during this time. So thank you. Let's address one of the first questions I get is engagement. So I wanted to share some things I think about where I've seen success and things that you may have overlooked. So I want you to catch this and think about some of these, because it'll help build experiences to increase engagement across your existing customer bases. And I say existing because the first thing, even before I show you some of these tips, that I always remind people of is that we exist in an area where voice is not the only modality. And so just like if I was creating a website today, I would want to be thinking about my mobile app and my voice conversation, my Alexa skill. It should be the same as you're creating a voice experience. So I would not recommend trying to start a completely new brand with no customers with just voice. You want to have these different engagement points where you can touch base with customers. Voice can give you incredible uplift if you look at it as a lever to push down on existing customers. So for example, shopping online and ordering, especially, being at home, the ability to just order food by asking for it gives you an incredible engagement versus trying to figure out your website or your mobile app. And so really think about that. Think of it as a lever and use all of your existing modalities. And there are some exceptions to that. So for example, there are some voice games that are just incredible, like Starfinder, that you wouldn't be able to create that anywhere else, right? So it's obviously, but that has an existing fan base. That's, it's a D20 based module like D&D. It's an existing realm with lore and customer base. So just think about that. First thing I get asked is like, well, that Amazon.com/skills page, where do I go? Like, what do I look at? And so the popular categories right now, and this can change over time, happen to be games, music, and ambient sleep sounds. And so you can click on those categories. You can look for, 4-star ratings, higher and above. Look for things with just thousands and thousands of reviews. Start to go through them. Start to think about how you can add on to that and how you can make really engaging experiences. The second is integrated experiences. So again, remember, it's not just about having the voice conversation with Alexa, but I'll give you an example. If I say things like, I want to work out, because a lot of us, we don't have access to a gym. I'm afraid to get on the scale. I just did this morning. It wasn't, it's not cringing yet, but I know I'll get there. And for those of you who are interested in this, by the way, I do have another podcast called Wisdom with Friends. If you go to wisdomwithfriends.com, I forget which, I think it's episode 2 or 3. One of those is fitness. You will see before and after photos of me. I was 50 pounds heavier. And how do you address that, right? And how do I get started? And anyway, so fitness is a passion topic of mine, and it's important in this time. So let's say we all want to work out, and maybe I have a 20-minute workout skill. While I'm using that skill, I can say things like, are you ready to start your 20-minute workout? Right? So this is integrating that experience across the rest of Alexa. So we have an API for that you may not be aware of called Alexa Timers API. And so then I'm working out for 20 minutes and then I hear an alarm go off. So that gives me the ability to be in the moment and focus on what I'm doing, and then Alexa is helping me. That's an integrated skill experience. Or maybe I get done with that workout and then you ask me, would you like me to remind you daily at 7 p.m. to work out, which happens to be when I get on a treadmill. It's usually when a lot of my calls are done. There is an Alexa Reminders API, which allows you to do that. And so again, it continues the conversation with your customer outside of just that initial conversation within your skill. And, I need to see things. Thank goodness there are videos out there. I just realized when I started on my fitness journey, I had been doing push-ups wrong my whole life. I got to keep them closer to my center, watch my elbows, make sure where I'm putting my actual palms. But you could do something like this in a workout skill. You could say, show me how to do proper push-ups. And thanks to the Alexa presentation language, I can show video. And let's say, my workout space happens to be in the family room. I got a yoga mat. And I say, I do this, I could be doing this on Fire TV. So then I had the video on Fire TV. So it's creating that integrated experience. And then it's taking that voice experience and bringing it across devices and across all different modalities. So for example, and you could do this from the very beginning. If I say something like, maybe I find a really good chicken piccata recipe. I could say, send this recipe to me in an email. And thanks to account linking, a customer can be logged in with your skill with their existing account in which you would have their email address and which recipe they're asking for. And then I get a nice email. Maybe it's a PDF that I could print out. In fact, I can even print things out. I could say, print out my chicken soup recipe, and it'll go ahead and it'll hit my printer across different printers through the Alexa Connections API. Or what about talking with other things versus just the conversation? So my car, so we have 2 cars, right? And so the main family car is what we've used for that weekly grocery shopping during this pandemic. Sorry, I touched my face. My car, which we only use, like I use when I'm going to the airport, right? Or if I'm traveling, I went to start it. It's embarrassing. I went to start it and the battery was dead because I hadn't used it in so long. So it would be nice to ask, what's my oil like? What's my battery life? Do I need to do so? I'm engaged with that device without being in that device, right? And so Alexa skill connections to connect you, be able to print, and being able to talk between skills, and then Alexa Auto, being able to engage with an automobile like that. So just areas to think about to increase engagement. Another area of voice that we're seeing is routine. So scheduled engagements with your voice experiences throughout the day. So think about mobile, right? Mobile, depending on the study you read, it's multiple times a day that somebody could be engaging with your device. In fact, a lot of times it's random. What we're seeing with Alexa, and this is actual data here, you're just seeing patterns on the screen. Now, this has changed a little bit during the pandemic. It's very similar. It's more like a weekend chart than workday, because obviously people aren't asking for traffic and things like that. But it's the data is consistent in that it is touch points, a routine, stuff that you can count on. So I can deliver specific content throughout specific points in the day. So for example, if I know that people are going to want recipes at dinner time, then I can start to make new content available. Then maybe I start to create sales and my in-skill purchasings at that time. So it's very unique to voice in that we do see these kind of scheduled routine daily engagements. Now, some really great news during this pandemic is that people are engaging. I'm going to share my own skill. This is just a silly little skill, allows you to roll Dungeons and Dragons dice. I don't even know how people find it. I haven't updated in a while. You can get the code up on my GitHub. I haven't touched it in a while. I'm going to use it as an example. So I think it was at the Voice keynote last year. You may have, if you attended that, you saw me share this slide on customer retention. So what you can see here is only a 5% customer retention in this skill. And this was, in week 1, right? So just 1 week following. This is what it looks like. I just pulled these charts, 3 weeks of retention. So this is April 1st, you can see up there, to May 22nd. And these numbers, by the way, because I do hear from all of you, even though this is just a sample little skill, this correlates to what all of you are seeing as far as retention goes. And so what's super interesting here is that people are checking this skill out, they're finding the skill, and they're staying. And they've been staying across the entire time that I took this data. And that's just incredible to see. Interactive path analysis. So you can see previously launch request and dice roll size, and then there's even a little dice roll intent in there. It's about 50-50. So a launch request is going to happen when a customer has never used the skill before. They're just going to say the skill name, figure out what to do. Dice roll size means I've used this skill before. I know how to have that conversation. I know that I can roll these specific sided die. This is what it looks like now. So if you look at that launch request, what you can see there is just some incredible new customer engagement. And that the launch request is like 3/4 of what's actually occurring as far as my intents being invoked. And you can see reprompt is bigger too on that launch request, meaning and sometimes if you look over there to the middle, to the level 3, you see even another reprompt. So this means that the more customers that I get, and you would expect this, the more times that something that Alexa didn't understand gets set, because people are trying to learn what they can say so that my intents get matched. But just if you haven't created a skill, now's the time, this opportunity for engagement. I mean, just look at these numbers continue to go up. You can see enablements, right? So this is when a customer has decided to enable the skill, either invoking that via Alexa or through the Alexa app or that Amazon.com skills page. And it's not just me. I've seen, across Twitter, people are sharing this. This happens to be the CEO of VoiceFlow. Pre-March growth, it's now 100% more, looking at close to 1 million end user interactions a day. And there's the link to the tweet if you'd like to check that out. So just look at this time as You can experiment. It's an opportunity for engagements. And it's also, we're all sitting here at home looking to try new things. I love all these different virtual formats that are coming out. And so if you have an existing Alexa skill and you're a little shy, and that if you changed something, what are people going to say? Start experimenting right now, Now is the time where I think all of us are a little more forgiving, and all of us are looking for those new experiences. So monetization, another common question I get asked. And the first thing with monetization is number of devices out there, customers. I love seeing the tweets when we have Prime Day or around the holidays of just seeing existing experiences that you've created and just engagements going up as new customers come to the fold and are excited to try out experiences with Alexa. So just wanted to share a couple of things. There's hundreds of millions of Alexa devices. And when I say that, I'm not including the mobile. So that does not mean, somebody sitting, and I do this when I work out, is just talking to my Amazon Music app on my phone and pulling things. It doesn't include that. It doesn't include people on their phone and they're, shopping with Alexa. It doesn't include the Alexa app. Engagement with Alexa has nearly quadrupled over the last 2 years. I've heard from a lot of you. You can see that in your engagement inside in your dashboard. Customers interact with Alexa billions of times each week. Just super, super cool to see. Over 500,000 of you building for and with Alexa. So thank you. And, just hearing from developers and seeing this, there are developers making thousands of dollars a month through in-skill purchasing. Some of them are making more than $10,000 per month. So just incredible to see. And positive trends too, by the way, in much higher conversion rates with voice, outpacing what mobile and industry standards are, and low return rates. So that's good to see as well. Some of the stories that devs have shared, look at a 34% conversion rate in the popular game Escape the Airplane. Headspace told us that 87% of users returned for another session via voice. Duncan Skills, and obviously this was pre-pandemic. It'd be interesting to see now, though. A lot of these restaurants and food, like what engagement looks like. I'm starting to see a little bit, but I imagine it's going to be the new normal moving forward is voice ordering. So 50% of Duncan Skill users who started an order completed one, and then a third went on to complete multiple orders. So that's an example of that lever, pulling that lever and taking existing customer base and increasing engagement. Nick Schwab, who most of you know in the community, shared stuff with us. We did a case study with Nick too. And Nick, I've been using Fireplace. I've been playing EverQuest during this pandemic. And I'll leave it up to Nick if he wants to share new numbers. These were just the numbers from before the pandemic that I had, but attracting nearly 2 million active monthly users. And then he's been very innovative with ISP, so with that in-skill purchasing. So when offered a free trial or monthly sub, a third of customers sign up for that free trial, and then more than 90% of the free trials convert to paid. So just, incredible opportunity there within monetization. And one of the areas that we've been trying to improve too is to make that human AI interaction as seamless as possible. We want to lean onto the human side of things. How do we make these experiences more engaging in the way that we all have conversations with each other? And the first is in that synthesized voice. Now, you've probably seen improvements here throughout the industry. It was a breakthrough a couple years ago. And I wanted to show you, how we break this down. So if I said sentence to synthesize, what you're seeing there, we're breaking out the sounds of the sentence, right? And these are called phonemes. And so tomato, tomato, that's actually what Alexa is hearing, is these sounds. And in the way that we used to do it in purely concatenative text-to-speech was record in a very neutral tone. But now we have the ability to kind of take this hybrid approach, right, through a full neural text-to-speech system that can actually create human speech. And so one of the things that you can do now, you can do this today. If you're listening at home, you could say, ask Sam. Alexa asked Sam. I'm a huge fan of Samuel L. Jackson. And let me tell you, when he gives the weather and he actually says the name of like our hometown, my kids think that's the coolest thing ever. But this is across all areas. You'll see it in games. So I mentioned Starfinder before. And before I forget, on the podcast, so Alexa Dev Chat, you can go check that out, and there's a behind the scenes of how all that was created and lessons learned. I did an episode on that. So it's just full narration. Reminds me of radio shows of old, and it's an engaging experience, whether you're just spending some time with the kids in the evening or you're traveling somewhere. Updates and new features. So I wanted to share some things besides the tips I've already shared that maybe you haven't seen. Emotion and speaking style. So Alexa, you can have her be excited and empathetic. There's a broadcaster style, right? So she doesn't just straight out blurt text. It's actual like reading a narrative. We have Polly now has brand voice. And so we worked with KFC. We did the Colonel's voice. And it's just, more and more features to make Alexa as sound as human as possible, as engaging as possible, and to make developing for this as seamless as possible for you. So one of the things we've done is we do have a feature update site. And I know a lot of you have been asking, like, is this available in the UK or Germany? So you can sort by region. The team's been doing a really great job of linking the documentation directly in here. You'll see, there's the new APL features and the intent confidence. There's, other things we've released, like the ability. We've tried to make it a lot more seamless to update your live skills. The timers API, just definitely check this out. The URL you'll see there at the bottom if you need to pause this, developeramazon.com, Alexa Skills Kit feature updates, and we'll continue to update that for you. So other areas to make Alexa more engaging from the human side of things, multilingual, so being able to speak English and Spanish or English and Hindi. Tone, so if I say, Alexa, shut up, and I'm angry, it's very different, right? Hunches, the ability, hey, Dave, I noticed you listen to pleasing music and change the lights at 3 p.m. every day. Why don't I make a routine for you, right? And so just becoming more intuitive, opening it up so that it's not, I can just ask, Alexa, what did you hear? And Alexa can actually tell me, or why did you do that? Or you could say things like, Alexa, delete everything you just heard, right? Or everything all day. Identify this, show objects, visually impaired, just making it more human. How do I get feedback? I get asked that question a lot. So you can just tell Alexa, I have feedback, and be able to do that. Or, voice, we've tried to make things invocationless where possible. So you can say things like, what are the latest games or top skills? But I can also do, what are my chores? Which chores, you may know, happens to be a blueprint. So if you go to blueprints.amazon.com, you can now set that up for your kids during all this and then say, Alexa, what are my chores? As well as give me the news. So just making it more human, making it very, very straightforward and interactive. So what does this mean for the road ahead? When I say something like, Alexa, play a sky full of stars, this is building an entity action knowledge graph. And that's a Coldplay song. I won't have it play right now for copyrights, but the idea here is that we're pulling from all of the content that I may own. So I could have that song in Amazon Music, Spotify, iTunes. I can do things, though, with voice that I haven't been able to do before. So I can say, play the acoustic version of this or the live version of this. And that knowledge graph is updated to be current. So, if I said COVID, that's very different than something, even a year ago. And, customers can be surprising, as we go through and we annotate when we build these knowledge graphs. So here's an example we did. If you said buy burger on Amazon, you would think the relevant thing would be a burger, right? And that's how we would label that data in that conversation relevant to build our model. What happens is it's actually the burger press, which we may have labeled as irrelevant. And this is why voice is so unique. And what we found with this study is, like, stuff that's broadly popular and cheaper, which a burger is, you're more likely to see this discrepancy between labeling data, what you thought was relevant and irrelevant. And it happens in specific categories too, right? So toys and digital products, the way that people say it. So if they say it in a medium tone, that's very different than if they're short or long in as far as flexibility goes. And so we need to think about these things and when we live in that area of ambiguity. moving away from these simple instructions, these multi-turn conversations, into this area of reasoning, which is where we want to be with human beings. And that's where we're trying to focus, and you're going to see us focus moving forward. The first, with giving you an RNN to reduce the amount of code that you have to write, really opening up all of the AI that we've built so that you're going to have an automated dialogue flow. We're already seeing 3 times less lines of code. The ability to actually live start to understand. So you're going to start out with some simulated dialogues as you're building your utterances, but you're going to have a model and you'll have your own RNN. And so once you deploy this thing live, it's an experience where it's self-learning. So rather than you going through in the dashboard and seeing, oh, wow, why are my intents all failing? Why is my accuracy low? Really learn and adapt, and then take all of that live data and bring it back into the model to make things easier for you. We call this Alexa conversations, but the whole idea is just less effort, less code, really using that training data to learn from your customers and make these experiences better. And you're going to see us continue to focus on that as we move forward. So with that, one final URL, you can check out alexa.design for everything that I've talked about. And I look forward to talking to all of you in the Q&A.